it is the victory of endurance, of good over evil. We won't spend much time, but it's important that ones and ones know what we bring forward as news, where the rights of the community is in concern and what is confronting I. So this, on the 5th trumpet rally, we start with a short, important statement from His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I. The Emperor says Africans have committed no sin unless the pursuit of independence and freedom from colonial oppression is considered one. So the struggle continues. The Ethiopia Rastafari Millennium Council was formulated and established in 2007 at the Haile Selassie School as a Rastafari All-Mansion Union. The RMC mandate is to design to speak with one voice for all ones that possess the spirit of Rastafari in order to promote, protect, and preserve the sacred legacy represented and transmitted to the Rastafari indigenous culture wherever possible. The RMC objectives are: 1. To support and develop effective governance and cooperation between all houses and mansions and independent organization individuals that make up the Rastafari nation in Jamaica, while networking with diaspora and developing communities worldwide in order to be able to, through networking, to represent the Rastafari indigenous culture in a unified, collective, theocratic governance for repatriation. To advocate and identify political and legal negotiating strategies and representations with appropriate bodies in order to further the interests of the Rastafari communities in matters of repatriation, reparation, cultural heritage projects, human rights and welfare, intellectual property, and the like, and to spread those best practices throughout. To identify, secure, protect, and manage the IP rights of the Rastafari communities on behalf for the benefit of Rastafari. 4. To provide support and empowerment to all Rastafari members and Rastafari mansions and organizations in the practice and furtherance of their living faith. 5. To form productive working alliances with all organizations that are able to assist the Rastafari Millennium Council with the fulfillment of its objective. 6. To serve as a communication resource and information center for all Rastafari communities in Jamaica and wherever possible. And finally, 7. To identify ventures and opportunities to raise and manage funds in order to better achieve all the RMC objectives to serve the institutional development and delivery to the Rastafari nation. This goal is in process through a uniquely designed multi-purpose Rastafari trust fund that has been registered and open operating account, while developing a business plan to be complemented by a design of a Rastafari Intellectual Property Limited to license, develop, and manage collective rights and assets of the Rastafari community. The Rastafari Millennium Council's first action was to register the council in Jamaica and to invite the World Intellectual Property Organization, South African lawyer Roger Chennels, and other lawyers to edify the council on the intellectual property rights of Rastafari as an indigenous culture. The RMC was subsequently registered with WIPO, a drafted and revised constitution by the research and development of these actions has been distributed to the community and now awaits ratification, and bylaws for deepening the institutional development and representation of the Rastafari communities. The perception and fear of losing mansion autonomy and weak administration has stalled this process. The RMC is studying the issue and seeking formulas to reduce these perceptions in the face of major decisions that are affecting the culture, wherein any perception of weakness in representation is reviewed as becoming responsibility of the government. The capacity building of the RMC, the Rastafari Multipurpose Trust Fund, and the Rastafari Intellectual Property Limited have been advanced as institutional management structures to fill the gap of a formalized constitutional mechanism, as it is shown that lack of resources for public education and edification and lack of legal representation are the major threats and impediments feeding perception and mistrust within the community. These are serious things affecting I and I, while we have certain destabilization going through. So we must prevail and come together and resolve these issues. This is one step why we have this community gathering right now. Give thanks. The RMC has prepared for the communities a position paper for the Rastafari Nation fundamental rights for repatriation and reparation, a template for a Rastafari economic village project, and a report on the mission to Harar, Ethiopia of 2009 to highlight the repatriation agenda of the RMC that was spearheaded by our Ambassador Lord Bingi I Reliance, who visited communities in South Africa, Ethiopia, and Ghana in 2009. All reports and position papers were presented to members and can be reviewed on the RMC's Facebook or the developing website. The Rastafari Millennium Council position papers and report on the mission to Harar were presented to the Africa Union at their technical meeting of experts in February 2011 for the Global African Diaspora Summit, the GADS. The first ever GADS took place in Sandton Convention Center, Johannesburg, South Africa on May 25, 2012. Heads of states from 54 African states in the Africa Union or their representatives, CARICOM heads of state or their representatives, members of governments from Latin America, the United States of America, and Europe were in attendance. A large contingent of people from civil societies in countries throughout the world with African ancestry and descendants were present. Approximately 100 nations attended the event. The repatriation agenda is evident in the Africa Union's 6-region process starting from 2005, with many African states encouraging the African diaspora of their rights to return as a response to the neo-colonial migration and African brain drain to the colonial centers in order to contribute towards their development, which is now echoing what His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie prophesied at the inauguration of the OAU, that Africa still awaits creation and her creators. This is now an active agenda the AU is promoting, where the proposal adopted at the conclusion of the GADS are declared in their legacy project. A. The production of a skills database of African professionals in the diaspora. B. The establishment of the African Diaspora Volunteer Corps. C. The establishment of the African Diaspora Investment Fund. D. A program on the development marketplace for the diaspora as a framework for facilitating innovation and entrepreneurship amongst Africans and the diaspora. E. To establish the establishment of a remittance institute. And F. A diaspora advisory board is to be established that will address reparation and the right to return for Africans in the diaspora. The Rastafari Millennium Council Economic Village Project has been proposed as a basic socio-economic platform to build out the institutional framework within Jamaica, where all communal spaces have been underdeveloped by the hostile and discriminatory practices of the government of Jamaica. The recent ruling on Pinnacle Heights highlights this issue and context, and we give thanks that we will hear from even some legal minds going forward and can even highlight this issue in details going forward. With the social and industrial culture of the community being grouped together and with communities being developed internationally, it is through a strategic franchising network that a production and a protection platform will form a social and economic bridge to aid the Rastafari community repatriation agenda, both from a community and governmental level. This was evidenced from the visit to Jamaica by the South African Minister of Tourism, who reviewed the Rastafari indigenous village and Asfayard village of Charlestown as best practices for the existing South Africa culture tourism model. So we have interchanging going on. It's just I and I need to organize ourselves and move forward with the Africa Union agenda. The Rastafari village projects, particularly in Africa, are being designated as return repatriating residents within South Africa, Ethiopia, and Ghana that network with the founding mansions of the faith in Jamaica in their design. Although recognized by the respective governments, there still needs to be implemented the practical legislation that authenticates the rights for returning residents. The diaspora is very relieved that the current step taken by Ghana to pass the rights of return and indefinite stay law in 2007 for the African diaspora. The law, I want you to listen carefully, the law that passed in Ghana. The law empowers the African diaspora with the right to remain indefinitely in Ghana and to enter without a visa, work without work permit as a self-employed person or as an employee, and to own property in Ghana. This is what is established through this law, right? Rastafari also welcomes the commission also being done by the South African government that seeks to investigate conditions affecting their communities or I&I communities that denied I&I human rights. These are encouraging platforms for the diaspora to lobby the AU in recognition for the rights of return while challenging reparation against slavery in the United Nations International Courts. The year 2013 designated the Jubilee year to really reflect the law of a Jubilee when everyone's supposed to have the right to return to them possession and them family. Yeah, that is the Jubilee year, what it's supposed to mean. It is indicating the deepening of the national and international environment in respect of the RMC agenda in establishing the representational rights of the Rastafari community. As the Jubilee year for the formation of the Organization of Africa Union and the Coral Garden Massacre, the Rastafari Millennium Council was very successful in collaborating with the Coral Gardens Committee in organizing a march, one of the largest ever witnessed in Jamaica. This momentum was carried into the Rastafari University of the West Indies Coral Garden Conference in August, with collaboration between the Rastafari Millennium Council and the UWI through a signed memorandum of understanding and an outcome by the Most Honorable Prime Minister Portia Simpson attendance to set up a special team to deal with the Coral Garden issue. And I want to really, at this time, we have some ancients, matriarchs and patriarchs who have gone through and suffered even victimization of what the Coral Gardens who are present with us. So I would love to acknowledge their presence here and anyone who is vividly impacted on the Coral Gardens incident. So I love the ones who have been impacted against Coral Gardens. So just give a standing recognition as survivors of the struggle continuity. And we want the item to just salute, we ancient them for standing tall with this struggle continually. And we know so we now give up that struggle here because this is I and I rights and I and I standing for the cause of repatriation and reparation which is owed to I and I. So we give thanks and a whole salute to all the ancient matriarchs and patriarchs going in and still struggling today. Blessed love Rastafari. As MOU was established also with the Institute of Jamaica, the National Museum of Jamaica, regarding the exhibition Rastafari. Yeah, we have an exhibition going on now, what is showcasing the Rastafari indigenous culture going on, and we have a display of what is done at the museum out there. So everybody don't know where the Institute of Jamaica is. It is on East Street downtown. So we want the item be aware that it is going on. Give thanks. Yeah man, this museum and we have outgoing negotiation that started from early with the Smithsonian people them who had a Discovery Rastafari exhibition going on from 2007. And we want to state clear, the Rastafari Millennium Council, when we went up with a delegation in 2007, we claimed the intellectual property right where our culture is concerned. So pieces and edifices of those that memory board that was displayed in the museum at Smithsonian is also can be viewed at the institution also. Yeah, man. So we want to acknowledge that it established the Rastafari community ownership, which is this exhibition, and of the exhibit, and it's proposed to be exhibited for 2 years, right? Within the final year, which is going to be displayed at Mobile. So there's going to be 1 year at E Street, and the next year, which is in July, around about that time, it is going to be mounting at Montego Bay. An exhibition on Rastafari is also to be done in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia in 2014, and I believe that is going to be in May of 2014. The exhibition are establishing the IP rights institutionally for the Rastafari community. So whereas I speak it, it is now being displayed. So even I exhibition that is being done here within the museum is going to have a virtual display by what you call it, technology in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. So I want the item know, say what is there is I doing an I collective right. So be proud to embrace yourself, man. It's I creation this. Give thanks going forward. The IP rights of the Rastafari community was further entrenched by its identification within the UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage Convention in September. All this thing happened in 2013, you know, with a serious year, the Jubilee year I got you. To which Jamaica is a signature since 2010 to the UNESCO. A recent workshop facilitated by UNESCO showed where the inventorying of the Rastafari in the intangible cultural heritage obligates the government to recognize the right to ownership and self-management by our communities. Through the Rastafari culture mapping, it showed the direct relationship and incorporation of the traditional culture and community Rastafari community rights in reggae as a music and culture. The RMC has also applied to UNESCO for funding that will aid in formally establishing these positions and capacity building for a stronger administrative framework for the Rastafari Millennium Council. So we even going to touch on administration a little later today. The World Intellectual Property, working with the Jamaica Intellectual Property Office, has further investigated the relationship with the Rastafari culture and reggae, which with preliminary report has highlighted the inseparable socio-economic relationship between the two. What is now being sought by the RMC is a proper valuation of the Rastafari culture. The RMC has developed a project proposal for Trenchtown. I want to listen to this because you're going to hear some talk from the representative from Trenchtown very shortly. These are the things that are happening. Rastafari must be aware of these things. Right, so we have a project proposal for Trenchtown in light of its cultural legacy relating to both the Rastafari culture and popular music. We have an issue with the Snoop Dogg IP contractual issue is related to this issue and remains an extremely divisive and misunderstood one. So one needs to know what is even happening, because we give the first time an intellectual property contract to an individual who was claiming said he is genuine for Rastafari. We don't trust them, so we give them a contract and then breach it. And we'll hear more. The RMC representative attended a CARICOM conference in St. Vincent and the Grenadines on reparation. So them thing are real. It gone to the head of state now. In September, presenting the Rastafari position paper on repatriation and reparation, along with an analytical review of the cause and effects of colonialism and slavery, which is operated through now globalization. these are serious neo-colonial objectives. It's not done yet. The reparation agenda was spearheaded by the Prime Minister, the Honorable Ralph E. Gonsalves, who advanced the initiative by hiring lawyers from Lide and Association that successfully made a settlement for the Mama community in Kenya against England. I believe the settlement was for £20 million. There you see, so there are action being done for I&I redress. All Caribbean representatives lauded the Rastafari movement for their historical and oppressive, or rather oppressed role in agitation for reparation, and recommended consideration by Caribbean states for reparations to the community. So we make a forward statement say reparation must be paid even nationally by those states who were oppressing and victimizing I&I for the stance for repatriation and Africa defense without any apology. It was recommended that Rastafari and reggae culture should be used as a weapon. Yeah, and the Honorable Neville Livingston, CD, OJ, PKA, Ras, Bunny, Wheelers, yeah man, to be the Caribbean cultural ambassador for reparation. The CARICOM states have been asked to set up national reparation committees to research and develop the information needed for the legal and political strategies that were presented. Jamaica has a national reparation committee. It was established in 2009. A position paper is being presented shortly to the state. The Rastafari communities has also affixed to that document a genealogy outlining the struggle and even showing forward what we would have said our position going forward as recommendation to the state. The RMC has asserted the Rastafari community's unique role and position to be clearly presented and represented through the RMC, especially where repatriation and national governmental reparation are to be made. The RMC is respecting the efforts from a governmental level, but like all civil societies groups represented at the conference, will be vigilant in the assumptions and proposed strategies and demands. A review is ongoing as to whether the Rastafari community needs its own distinctive committee. The year 2013 also recalls the Ministry of Justice establishing religious rights, both rights and writs, for the Church of Haile Selassie I, operated by the Imperial Ethiopian World Federation. It is to be investigated what is implied for all the spiritual formations within the Rastafari community. The year 2012, or rather 13, ends with a ganja decriminalization or legalization that has many cross-cutting issues relating to the community's culture and economic rights. The reality of first movers is an important economic one, and through our focus on Rastafari intellectual property rights and the general social political rights related to why ganja was made illegal, the related and particular abuses to our community and culture must be negotiated for balance in any social, political and economic legalization. The Rastafari Millennium Council position is that all of these concerns must be negotiated in an integrated manner, and none of these issues must be dealt with in an isolation, which is what the RMC has laid out to the Prime Minister in a meeting in May 2013. A Prime Minister report has been circulated and needs wider dissemination. We'll try to see if we can get copies to the ones that present here as well. What has emerged as a serious gap for the Rastafari Millennium Council and the Rastafari community is the legal representation based on lack of funding. Because we have the rights, we want to go after it, but lawyers we need to get the right lawyers to do these things. So even hearing from the lawyer's perspective, we can get a clarity where this is concerned. This is related to the general lack of capacity within the overall justice system of Jamaica, and it's one of the most serious threats towards advancing the Rastafari Millennium Council and by extension the Rastafari community's agenda. We give thanks and close with the words of His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie. Yes, because with all these agitation and rights, we know we shall win, as we are confident in the victory of good over evil. Haile Selassie, Holy Manuel Haile Selassie.